Welcome to the 29th episode of the Decentralized Opportunity podcast. I'm your host, Tanner Lytle, here with your other host,
Wyatt Carson. Tanner. So we have an interview today, and I'm very excited, because I brought this person in, but more importantly, this person's been a friend of my family for quite a while, and she's been doing some amazing stuff in the literal definition of a small town. She's an awesome person. She made my 30th birthday cake. She made the cupcakes for my wife's wedding shower. And I have a bunch of pictures and stories, but I can't share them because, well, that was a long time ago. But no, I would like to introduce Lindsey Oelling, the founder of PaperMoon Pastries. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi, how's it going?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm here. This is exciting. First podcast. So
let's just jump in. Tell me where you live and what you did there, because it's a cool story. I want to share it.
Okay. So I live in Cortland, Nebraska, which is right in between Lincoln and Beatrice, like smack dab in the middle. You will not see it if you drive through it. If you blink, it's gone because we don't even have a town sign. We have a massive water tower and that's it. Yeah, I've been living here about 7 years now and just decided a few years back I really wanted to open a bakery or something because there's literally nothing here. We had one gas station at the time. Now we have two, so that's exciting. And they both have food now, which is double exciting. That's all. So I thought, well, it'd be really cool to have something that small town, like surrounding areas or just people in town could come to and interact. Because I found out that most of the people who live here, like the average age is 35 or something like that, which was mind blowing to me because I thought I was the only person under the age of 90 because a lot of people here were older and my grandparents lived here. So yeah, I thought it'd be cool to have a place people could gather and open a bakery. This is perfect timing because our birthday of being open for a year is on the 21st of May. So we're just a couple weeks away. It's really exciting.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
So is it family that brought you to Cortland, or what was the story to get you back there?
Oh gosh, do you want the long version or the short version?
Sure, we got time.
Okay. So my mom was raised in Cortland, and then my dad he grew up right outside of Cortland in Princeton, or on a farm by Princeton. So they met in Cortland. So technically I can attribute my existence to this town. And then I had nothing to do with Cortland past that. My grandpa lived here. We came here when I was a kid for Easter egg hunts and every holiday. But then I never planned on living here, honestly. I was in Lincoln, went to grad school at UNL. And after I graduated, I wanted to buy a house. I was tired of renting, but I was also a poor grad student. So it's like, where can I find a house that, I feel safe and comfortable in, that I can also afford? And this house just happened to appear and it was like made for me, and bought it. And that's how I ended up here. So, yeah.
Great. Now, before we get into the bakery, real quick, Lindsey, you have a unique day job as well. Can you elaborate on that just a little?
Yes. So I am technically, by definition, a couples therapist, or just a mental health therapist. I meet with clients, work on depression and anxiety. I'm trained as a couples therapist. I don't get to see as many couples as I'd like, but yeah, that's my day job. When we first opened the bakery, was working full-time at an agency. So 9 to 5, seeing clients, 7 clients a day. And then I would come home after work every night and bake from 5 till about 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. And then would start the day all over and then open on Saturdays and had Sunday to recover. So now I do private practice Mondays and Tuesdays, and then occasionally Wednesdays and Thursdays. So much better.
We were joking before we hit record that Tanner and I, 29 episodes in, we're about a year into our podcast too. So it's a year anniversary for all of us. Almost. Ours is what, June, early July? I don't remember when exactly, but we were making the joke that Tanner and I could probably use some couples counseling. So maybe we'll hit you up.
Perfect.
You don't know what happens behind the scenes, and
that's right.
I have plenty of books I can lend. So
if Tanner and I have to look into each other's eyes for too long, though, I'm calling it quits.
This is why we don't do it in person. It's all via video.
Damn it, that was my first exercise, so I guess I'll have to find something else.
Sharing all the secrets. So you graduated grad school, you worked for an
Yes.
agency, you wanted to buy a home, you ended up in Cortland where you had some very early childhood roots. That's cool. Now, Cortland is a population of 500 people. I Googled this today because I didn't know where Cortland was. I know a lot about Nebraska. And I was like, where is she? So how long did you live in Cortland before you were like, you know what? I'm going to open the third business in this town.
Well,
Because you said there's 2 gas stations and a bakery now. So
yes,
you have a third of the you have the third of the GDP of that town.
yes.
How did you decide that?
Well, actually, when I bought my house, I wanted to open a bakery for a while. I don't even know, when did you turn 30? Or maybe I shouldn't ask that. But whenever I made your cake.
No, absolutely. So I'm 36. So 6 years ago,
Okay,
Lindsey
yeah.
was impressing us, me and my wife, we were all friends. And she was impressing us with baked goods. And, at first we were like, holy crap, these are like really good. Like, people will make you a cake or a cupcake and, for a birthday or something. I was like, oh, that's very thoughtful. But like, also this thing is banging. So yes, you have a gift in the baking field. But you always wanted to open one. That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really start wanting to, I always thought it'd be cool to run some sort of like business, some sort of food establishment, something. I'm very artistic, and I think I just should have been doing something artistic my whole life. I love doing therapy too, so I have a good balance now of all the things that I enjoy. But yeah, I didn't, when I bought the house in Cortland, it had and still does have a big commercial building on it, it was an old hardware store. And it's pretty close to Main Street. So I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I can turn this into a bakery because it was zoned commercially. So when I purchased the house, it just happened to be on my radar anyway. But then after some thought and talking to the town, I was like, well, parking would be a challenge just because it's on a residential street. So I started looking around Cortland to see if there are any viable buildings. And I think it was 2018 or 2019, I found a building on Main Street that would have been perfect. And it was in a really sorry condition. A family had owned it, and they were elderly, and so they didn't get to keep up with it. And it was filled with antiques. So I volunteered. I was like, I'll clean it out if I can rent it from you, because it was packed, like filled to the brim with antiques. And a lot of it had unfortunately gotten moldy and stuff like that. So the roof needed repair. So I cleaned it all out, and then it fell through. So the building had to be torn down. Actually, it was in really bad shape. Found a lot of cool stuff. Like, it was a fun experience, and I realized that I do enjoy working. So I was like, okay, I'm passionate enough about this to go through somebody's crap and not get the building. So that kind of solidified that I really wanted to do it. But then, yeah, a guy from town who's kind of friends of the family reached out and said, hey, I have this tiny little hair salon. If you want to rent it, you can. It's going to need a lot of work. You'll probably have to renovate it. But if you'd like it, you can have it. You should do your bakery here. So I had been collecting actually off Facebook Marketplace, and random nice strangers who found out I wanted to do this literally donated kitchen equipment to me. So that was really helpful. So I had my storage building filled with like dishes and my 3-basin sink and all the things that I needed. And it just slowly accumulated over the years. And then, yeah, I got to put it all together last year. So I don't know if that answers the question.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. So you've been in Cortland 7 years. PaperMoon Pastries is 1 year old. So 6 years to kind of build your spot within the community, feel it out, dig through some moldy antiques. Man, small towns do love their antiques, don't they?
Small towns and I have that in common. I love antiques. They're so great.
So when you started asking around and saying, hey, I might be looking at starting a bakery, so on and so forth, and digging through the town, I've been in a town of about 500 people. I've lived in those towns, and word gets around fast. What were you hearing? What was the buzz around town?
It was kind of mixed. And the thing is, even though I know some people here just because of my family connections, I really didn't know that many people in town. And I kept to myself at first just because I was a therapist. I was never really home except for when I was home at night after work. But I did shows and theater and stuff, so I was never really here. So I didn't really hear much at first, but then buzz started going around. I created a Facebook page just because I was like, I need to get people aware that I'm doing this so that at some point they'll know. It won't just pop up and they'll be like, oh, what's this? They'll have an idea it's coming. So that I think kind of helped. I heard kind of positive and negative though. Like when it fell through, people were like, she's not going to do it. It's never going to happen. Like some of the naysayer sort of stuff, but not unsupportive, just probably more realistic. Like, how's it going to happen? It's really tough to do. So, but people overall were very, very supportive and pretty excited about something, literally anything coming to this town. So, yeah.
So what were some of the challenges when you finally found the place to actually getting the door open that you didn't expect going into it? Because that's always the hardest part, I feel, is actually getting to that point where you can just show it to the world.
Yes. Well, so it was a hair salon. And actually, I have a TikTok that I started way back when, just renovating my house. But then it expanded when I got this building. I was like, well, I'll just document renovating this, like changing it from a hair salon to a bakery, because that's kind of an odd jump. So if you want to actually see the transformation, you should check that out, because a lot of it was the carpentry sort of work, or the renovation part of it. Because my goal was to do it on a budget, because I was basically a social worker status, like I'm a therapist working at a small town agency, nonprofit. You're not making a ton of money. And I didn't want to just throw hundreds of thousands into a business that I didn't know how it would do. I had an idea, but I wasn't sure. So basically I was trying to renovate this teeny space into a fully functioning kitchen and bakery that could seat people and bake food without, things going horribly wrong on like no money. So that was a challenge. Luckily, again, Facebook Marketplace had a lot of kitchen equipment that was really nice that I could get fairly like cost effective anyway. And this is a really dumb thing, but the flooring was a huge pain in the butt. Like it was awful. So originally the building, or the space, was you walk in and immediately there's a hot pink wall right in front of you. Like you walk through the vestibule entrance, hot pink wall, and it's gray carpet that is covered in nail polish stains and like unidentifiable stains. I don't know. There was a tanning bed in the far back room that we had to get out, and some hair washing sinks and posters of like early 2000s bikini models, like overly tan. So that was kind of fun, but having to remove the carpet, knock down walls, you just find a lot of stuff. And the floor was like bare cement, which was fine, but no, there was tile. There was old black and white tile, like peel and stick, that had somehow cemented to the floor. And so like I tried scraping it up, and I had like, we got a jackhammer, we got all sorts of stuff, me and my boyfriend and my dad, and just like random friends that would help. It took forever to scrape up. And then to lay it down, my landlord was like, he didn't know what I could or couldn't do. So he was like, I'll have somebody lay the flooring that you picked down. It was also peel and stick because I'm cheap, but I thought I've laid it before, I could do it. And he had somebody else come do it, and they used an adhesive, thinking like this will help it stay longer because this stuff doesn't stick very well. But something about the adhesive interacted with the adhesive on the back of the peel and stick. So it all just kind of popped up, but not enough to come off the floor. So I had to go through and peel up each individual tile, scrape off the adhesive, which sticks to everything, dry it off, put down like a cement glue basically, and then put it back down, every single tile. And it took weeks. It was, because I'm doing this after work. It was awful. I'm glad I never have to be there again. But then we sealed it with this flooring seal stuff, and it immediately started cracking. So people ask, oh, is this the original floor? Because it looks like crap. But no, it's not. It's brand new. And I put it yeah.
I feel like it's a rite of passage with if you're opening a public facing thing. We had the second location we ever opened with Game On. They put so much glue on the carpet that we had like 6 guys trying to pull it up. Like it was just ridiculous.
Yes.
And then the Kearney location had this like faux hardwood in the entryway, and it was like cemented, like legitimate cement to cement. and it was that jackhammer thing, one at a time, probably
Ugh,
3 days of work just for this little section. It was so miserable. So I
awful,
feel you.
awful. That was probably the worst part of the whole process. And yeah, the rest of it was like nothing compared to that. So I would just say that that would be the main challenge.
So did you kind of self-fund it, or did you reach out? Did you reach out for business loans, investors? How did you fund building this and getting it set up? Because even in a small town, I can't imagine starting a bakery that looks as phenomenal as yours does is cheap.
So gosh, the way I went about it actually worked out really well. So I have no regrets. I found not a business card. I started a business bank account, but because it wasn't making any income yet, because I had no product, they had no reference point of what my income would be. So my credit limit was like $1,000 or something, like nothing. Which I was like, okay, well, this will help, so I could buy my materials and like paint and stuff like that. And doing a lot of the work myself made it really cheap. But then I took out a personal credit card that I found that had no interest for 15 months. And I was like, okay, if I can at least make this back and, pay, I think it was like a $10,000 or something, so I was like, okay, fine, I'll have this. I can use it for any like unintended things. So yeah, I just put it all on that credit card, and then I'd pay it off as I could. And then I also did a chili cook-off in town. And just I don't know how this happened. I just
That's the most small town thing ever. Continue.
I know it is. So what I did was like, okay, I will make 400 cinnamon rolls. I'll make 400 cinnamon rolls this is the cinnamon roll recipe that I'm going to sell in the shop. So people in town can try it. I won't charge anything. It'll be free will donation. And then I'll do this chili cook-off where if I can get at least maybe 10 to 15 entries with a gallon of chili or 2 gallons of chili each, we'll have enough to feed a decent amount of people and also just have some fun. So then I contacted a friend in Lincoln who is a restaurant like business owner, and asked if he would be a judge for it. And then the Vanderfords from 1011 agreed to be judges to it. So I just reached out to random people that I knew and had contact with, and was like, hey, would you be a judge? And then we kind of just started marketing the crap out of it just through social media, because the power of social media is insane. And we ended up it had to have been over 500 people that came to this chili cook-off, which for a town of 500 people, I was like, great, this is awesome. Went through all the chili, went through all of the cinnamon rolls, and raised, I think it was like $2,000 or something to put towards stuff. So that covered a decent amount actually of the flooring costs to get all of that stuff done. And then also we had, I think it was a local brewery, if I remember right, Stone Hollow Brewery in Beatrice donated some kegs. So all the alcohol sales or donations, we donated to a nonprofit. So it was also not just like, hey, give me money to start this bakery. It was also like, let's benefit the town too. So we donated it to the Cortland Improvement Association. So yeah, that was honestly how I did it. Kind of just like being resourceful, I guess.
I want to take a step back. You mentioned a few key milestones with like the business, you moving to Cortland, you finding that one location that fell through, and then you finding this one. Is there any particular point that was like defining to you where you were like, I'm going to do this? Because it's so hard for people. They always have the idea they want to start a business, but they just never actually get to the point of I'm going to do it and I'm going to stick with it and this is going to happen. Was there that story or moment for you?
Yes. Yeah. So it had fallen through end of 2019, early 2020. And I had heard, like, she's probably not going to do it. And I was feeling kind of down about it because it's like, well, there's no other space in town. There's literally no real estate on Main Street. There's nothing you can use. So it was like, unless I build something or turn my shed on my property, it's not going to happen. And then I can't remember the order, if my now landlord reached out to me in early May early May of not last year, the year before. It was like, hey, this hair salon's opening up and I think you'd be a perfect fit for it. Think about it. And I was just kind of like at the point where it's like, I don't know if this is supposed to happen. And then my health actually took a crap just out of nowhere, had a bunch of health problems. I developed Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune condition with my thyroid, and then also had some nodules on my thyroid. And we weren't sure if they were cancerous, and then had a lot of labs out of whack and had a big cancer scare for a second. Like, it was looking really bleak. And I was thinking, holy crap, like, this could be it. Like, it was a bad scare. And I thought, if this is it, then this is my life. And if I could go back and change it, what would I have done different? And I was like, well, I would have opened a bakery and just said, who cares? Like, screw it. I'll just do it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't care. It's just what I wanted to do. So that kind of all coincided at the same time. My landlord was like, hey, this just happened to open up, and I think you should use it. And so that was kind of my defining moment. Like, okay, clearly this is something that is meant to happen, because everything kept falling into place. Somebody then just reached out and donated more equipment. And it was just like, okay, yeah, like the universe is pointing me in this direction. If I don't take this opportunity, then I'm kind of a dummy.
That's a powerful story. That's impressive. It turned into kind of a desire to a passion project to, hey, you know what? It's now or never type situation. And it's so cool that your friends and community came and supported that. So speaking of supporting that, okay, May last year, you opened doors. Give me a brief description of your first week, your first month in business, give or take. How did that pan out in Cortland?
Well, there's also a video of this. If you go back and creep on Facebook, where we first opened, there's a video of our opening day, and it was insane. And I had marketed it like, hey, we're going to open. So I was like trying to let people know this is going to happen. So like, put this on your radar. And I can't remember the exact amount I made. I'll have to go back and look. I think I made like 100 cinnamon rolls. And I thought, okay, 100 cinnamon rolls. And I think I made like 50 cookies or something like that. I made a couple cakes, and I made maybe, I don't even know, 10 dozen cupcakes or something, like 100 cupcakes, 100 of each thing. Cause I was like, okay, and I made kolaches, and I thought this will be good. This is enough. It's, temper your expectations. And I would rather, have too much than have too little the first day and have people be disappointed. Well, we opened our doors at 7 a.m. and by 7:30 we're out of cinnamon rolls. And I was like limiting it. It was 7:30 or I can't remember, 8. It went very fast. And I was limiting it to 2 per customer because people were wanting to buy like bigger amounts. And I was like, I don't have enough for this. I didn't realize. So my family and friends are all helping me. They're all there serving and like making coffee and stuff like that. And so I was like, well, I just have to make more cinnamon rolls. So I start making cinnamon rolls, which is a very labor intensive process that you should not be doing with like other things on the table. So we're cutting cakes and we're like, oh my gosh, it was a blur. And we sold out by 10. It was like, there's nothing left in the case, which was a great feeling. Cause it's like, oh wow, that went way better than I thought it would. But also I felt awful because there was people who waited in line. Like, there was a line that wrapped around the building and I couldn't give them anything. And I just felt like a jerk, but I had no idea. I didn't know what to expect. So the month kind of continued like that.
Well, one of the things that stands out to me when I go to your website or go to any of your social media is the marketing. And I'm sure that's a key to the success because it looks fantastic just from the branding and all those things. You mentioned you're an artistic person. Can you kind of describe your system to creating the brand for it, how you came up with the theme, the whole layout of the store?
Yeah. So I love vintage things anyway. My dad is a huge history buff, and he restored old cars when we were kids. He was a mechanic. And so, yeah, we grew up with a bunch of historic cars and going to car shows. So I kind of liked that vintage pinup vibe anyway, aesthetic. But my dad actually showed me PaperMoon, the movie, which was filmed in 1970. I think it was 4. I've been saying 73, but I think it was 1974. And it's the story about a girl and presumably her father as they travel around the Midwest during the Great Depression and swindle people out of money using Bibles, which sounds horrible, but it's actually very charming and it's super cute. Tatum O'Neal was like the first or the youngest Oscar winner from it. But it's like a great father-daughter movie. And in the movie, there is a diner scene where essentially Tatum is asking her dad for money because he stole it from her. And this is the 30s, the Great Depression. She's like, you have my $200. And he's like, I don't have it anymore. I spent it. She's like, well, then get it for me. And it's this really funny, cute scene. And I love the aesthetic of the diner. So I thought, perfect. If I ever open a place, I want it to be kind of this theme, like 1930s. It's Art Deco, kind of. And PaperMoon just seemed like it stuck. The name worked really well. So that was the aesthetic. Creating the brand. My best friend is a creative director at an ad agency. So that's also kind of like helpful. He's great with typography. So he designed our font or like our PaperMoon. He designed the logo, and then I painted a mural on the wall of the bakery that kind of brings that in. We kind of collaborated on it. He designed it and I painted it. And yeah, I also randomly, just because I needed a creative outlet, picked up a job at a marketing agency in Lincoln and was doing copywriting because I love writing as well, and doing social media posts for different businesses. So I kind of got the feel for how that works. Not thinking it was going to translate into this, but I'm really glad because it was a great agency and I don't know, I got some great training from there as well. So
that makes so much sense.
It's always amazing all the little odd jobs that you pick up and how relevant they are when you start your own company. You're like, I can do this.
Yeah. It was a great feeling. It's like, oh, this all makes sense now. And social media, I cannot say it enough, and I never realized it until now, is so powerful when it comes to business. Because like I will post my menu, and if I don't post a menu item, the sales on it will be like nothing, which is, they'll sell, but not like if I post it or I post it with a visual, because people don't read. They never read. They see pictures. And when they see the pictures, that's what brings people in most of the time. So I can really see a difference when I post or don't post.
Yeah, definitely with food, you want that imagery because you just start thinking about it and going, do you do much video content now still as well, like the TikToks, but any longer form stuff like that?
I haven't done any video stuff recently. I'm actually going to be videoing a friend's wedding, so doing the wedding video for them this upcoming weekend. So dabble in a little bit of that. And I've never done, like, I want to do a film. I really want to do a series someday. This is totally off topic. I really want to do some sort of series. Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. Like a mini series. I've always wanted to write some sort of series about a therapist, which Shrinking came out on, on Apple TV. And I was like, oh my God, because it's been sitting in the back of my head for years. But no, I haven't done anything yet, but I want to.
Well, Jason Segel might be free. This answers so many questions for me because I'm looking at this and I've always known you were an artistic person. I've seen your artwork before. I have a piece of your artwork hanging in my living room. Not even kidding. You drew a picture of Amelia when she was a brand new newborn baby.
Oh my gosh.
And it's phenomenal. It's so good. It's lifelike. So I always knew you were artistic. And then I started looking at your Instagram and your Facebook for your bakery. And first off, your videos with the theme, the black and white, wonderful. They're great. I absolutely will link the hell out of them. But just your pictures. Do you take the pictures yourself as well?
Yeah, so every week I take the pictures and I come up with the copy for it, and just kind of half the time I feel like it's like I'm tired. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope this works. So I'm glad that it's being well received because a lot of the time it's like, well, here's a cake. But yeah,
well, your Instagram followers, you are 3 times the number of people in your hometown.
Yeah,
that's a good metric.
yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's interesting because I would say most of our customers we have very loyal people from town who come in, like great customers. I would say most of them though are from Lincoln or Beatrice or Omaha, like that surrounding area, more so than just here, because there's only so many people. Like you can only eat so many cinnamon rolls, so
don't challenge me.
What it kind of reminds me of is barbecue joints in Texas. So they have, because you're open just Saturdays, right?
Yeah.
So in Texas, they have these like world-renowned barbecue joints that are only open for one day, and they'll sell out by 10 a.m. or something. People wait in line, but they travel. It's a destination. You're kind of capturing that same kind of feel with your stuff because it's so special. It's limited time, limited quantity, and there's something great about it.
That was kind of just by happenstance, because like with my job, I was like, there's no way I'm quitting my job. I can't quit my job for this bakery. So I had to work, full time, and I couldn't be open any other days. And our kitchen is so small. It's just not like, when people think of bakeries, they always think bulk, like, oh, I can buy a ton of stuff. They make a ton of things. And I do, but my ovens right now are home ovens. It's not commercial ovens. In a commercial oven, I could bake 10 pans of cookies in 10 minutes. In the ovens I have, it's a home oven, so it's one pan of cookies, if you want them to cook evenly, for about 12 to 14 minutes. And I have three. I have a double oven, and then I have a range, and that's it. I just got commercial ovens that we are expanding our kitchen for. So that'll be helpful. But yeah, for the longest time, my baking process, I'd bake for 12, 15 hours because it was literally a pan at a time, literally a labor of love. You have to love it or you're freaking insane to do it.
That's a great segue to what my next question was going to be. Is you have a Monday through Friday job, you have a very professional job, and then and then on the weekend you open for one day. What does the prep for that look like to do all of that for one day? That feels like a monstrous task.
It is. It makes me think of being in shows, like being in musicals, because it's like you prep, you have your rehearsal, you have all of this stuff, and it's all for one like small window of time on one day. I typically, on Sunday evenings, I'll order all of my groceries from, I have like a couple of vendors that I order from, but mainly it's Sam's Clubs and Walmart, because I pick them up on my way home from my office on Monday night. So I'll stop by, pick them up, go straight to the bakery. You have to rearrange everything for, the, what is it, for like expiration dates. You have to pull everything out of the fridge, put the newer stuff in the back, and then do all of that, get everything put away. On Tuesdays, I typically make things that are not like perishable. So like I like my cakes to be pretty dang fresh, and frostings and that sort of stuff. So I stay away from that until Thursdays. But I'll typically bake on Wednesdays then. On Thursdays, I do the non-perishable things that can have a longer shelf life, like cookies and stuff like that, if I have time. But I'm still doing therapy most of the day, so that's rare. Wednesdays, I get up at like 6 a.m. and I'll bake about 300 cinnamon rolls or 350 cinnamon rolls. And it's not all the way. I don't bake them all the way. I bake them, like bake them halfway, and then I wrap them all individually, and then I squirrel them back away in my big industrial freezer that's hiding in the back, and I keep them there and freeze them. And then I make all of my cakes and cupcakes and things like that Wednesday evening. And then Thursday, I make all of my frostings, and I make coffee cakes, and I decorate everything. And then Fridays, I finish up making frostings and cakes and cookies, and I make kolaches, because kolaches cannot be made any sooner or they're going to taste like garbage. So I make kolaches, and kolaches is an all-day process. They're very labor intensive, not partially because of the oven situation. Again, I make about 40 pans worth, so doing the math, it takes a while. But then also because I hand roll each individual one, and then poke it myself and fill it with the filling. So it takes a while.
How many individual items is that?
I was just calculating this the other day. I think so far this year I have made about 5,000 cinnamon rolls, and I've made, it's close to 6,000 kolaches. So in a couple months, or since January, the middle of January. But I don't know. It's about 350 of each item I make each week. which is so interesting because like sometimes those will all sell and sometimes it won't. And it's like there's no rhyme or reason. I could make like Easter weekend, I made more. I made 10 big tubs of cupcakes, which is roughly 350, 400. And I sold out of all of them by 10. And my mom makes all the pies from like everything's from scratch. My mom makes the pies from scratch. And she made 15 instead of her normal 8. And we sold out of those by 7:30 in the morning. And it was like people were coming in and they're like, there's nothing here. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I know I made enough because it's been enough for every other week and I made more, but it's still gone. But then the week before I made the same amount and I had like 3 tubs of cupcakes left over and, you know, I had plenty of things left over by 2 p.m. So you never know.
So let's kind of make the listeners hungry here. What separates your food, specifically the cinnamon rolls, because they seem to be one of the biggest things for you? What's the difference between them and maybe something what you could pick up at a traditional grocery store or another location?
I think, well, traditional grocery stores like your Costco's and your Walmarts and those sorts of things. I can't speak for some of the smaller ones, but the chain stores all have pre-made dough that's frozen that they send out. And so if you're baking it, you just take it apart and let it raise and bake it. You don't have to make it all. So everything that I make, barring like 1 or 2 ingredients, are like it's all made from scratch. So like the cinnamon roll dough starts with the basic flour, sugar, milk, all of that stuff, and yeast. You let it raise. All of the frostings are made by me. A lot of bakeries, just because they have to for bulk, you would lose your mind if in order to make massive quantities to make it all from scratch. Since mine's small batch, I have the luxury of doing that. But yeah, like all the frostings are handmade from the bare basics. And I make a lot of gluten-free or gluten-friendly items as well. So that's been kind of I think a draw or something that's been helpful just because there's not a lot of that type of product in small towns. I think it's getting there. It's getting to that point, but
yeah, I do appreciate that. I have a family member who's celiac and can't tolerate gluten, and so it's really hard for them to go to places and actually find something that's an actual treat and not just something that's dry and terrible.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Ever since my Graves' disease started, I've been gluten-free just from recommendation from the doctor, and it was like, okay. And I could not find anything. If I would prefer to not be gluten-free because I like it, but like you can't find anything that tastes good. So I was like, well, I'll make stuff that I think tastes good and hopefully other people think it tastes good too, and I'll somehow figure it out. And I think it's been going all right. So it's been part of it.
So speaking of going all right, so you're about to hit your 1-year anniversary. Once again, congratulations. A year ago, when you opened that door and sold out by 10 o'clock, where did you think you would be today? Where did you think you would be in 1 year? And where are you now?
I thought that I would still be working my agency job. I truly had no intentions of leaving it. I thought it was because I liked it. I liked my coworkers. It was a good place to work. I thought I would still be there. I thought I would be making like the sales that we had that first month. I thought if I can hit these sales, because that wasn't even the intention. I didn't think I'd be making money with this. Honestly, I just wanted to have, when I started, I thought, and my friends laugh at me now, I was like, okay, every Saturday I'll wake up and I'll make a fresh batch of cinnamon rolls, maybe 50 of them. And I'll have, some cookies and maybe a couple cakes. And then once a month I'll make kolaches as a special, and I'll just hang out there Saturday from 7 to 2. And I'll pour coffee for the locals who come in and want to hang out and play cards and talk with people. And if nobody comes in, I'll just practice baking and experiment with recipes, and it'll be great. I can run it by myself. That's what I thought. And I cannot run it by myself. Like I cannot, did not. There's no downtime. We get there at 6 a.m. and we like frantically fill the bakery case with everything and get everything all pretty and get coffee going because the coffee's all made, there. And yeah, it's a process, and it starts right away at 7. We have people coming in and it does not slow down typically till like noon. Then it dies. But
how big is the team right now?
So right now it's It depends. I have a lady who comes in who makes kolaches and cinnamon rolls with me. She's a widow who lives just south of town and is the sweetest person I've ever met. So she's like my main person who I hang out. I hang out with her more than any other person on this planet right now, time wise, and she's the sweetest thing ever. And then I have probably about 6 people on the Saturday crew. So
That's fast expansion. That's fast growth. And to see it be successful, that's awesome.
yeah, we're hoping to create some more jobs. I'm hoping to get like a baking assistant here soon who can help me just with some of the stuff that I do all my dishes by hand, and there's a lot of there's a lot of labor that goes into it. So it'd be nice to take some of that off my shoulders.
Where are you wanting to see it go? Are you kind of wanting to just keep it on Saturdays and keep it special? You wanting to make it more of a full-time thing? What are you thinking?
I think if I could make it full time, it'd be cool just because like I really enjoy it. It's truly I think I'm the happiest I've ever been professionally ever. Like this is where I'm meant to be and I'm really happy with that. I don't think it's realistic given the town just because again most of our people are from surrounding areas. Um but I do want to keep going with it. And I don't really know what I like pipe dream would be having a PaperMoon brand for like kitchen stuff, not like equipment but like cutlery and plates and more like the art deco sort of style things, and furniture. I think that'd be super cool, and clothing. I don't know if that will never happen. It might happen, I guess. With that attitude it won't, but I think that'd be kind of cool to do. But for right now, yeah, I want to do more events. We're expanding our seating area. We're going to make an outdoor seating area. There's another side note, on the side of the building that I'm renting. There's this fenced off area that at one point, like 15 or 20 years ago, was used as a Halloween town or a haunted Halloween town. And different families from the town came in and built a building for this town. So there's a general store and there's a school and there's a barn and there's a butcher shop and all that stuff in this fenced off area. And it's all old timey. So I'm fixing it up and we're going to have some people help fix it up from a kind of horror, theme thing to a 1930s style town. And I'll have businesses from Cortland, like signs hanging up that are all 30s style. And then it'll be a seating area so we can have musicians come in and people come listen to music on Saturday mornings, or have events in the evenings and have more seating because seating's pretty limited right now.
That's so cool. And so you already answered my next question about like all of this work. Like you're starting on Tuesday for one day on the weekend, mixing your 9 to 5 plus you do art and wedding videography and holy crap, Lindsey. When do you get a break? What do you do for fun?
So I think that's been a challenge with this too, is I never thought I'd be the person who works all the time because that's just, it like does not line up with who I know myself to be. But right now, Sundays, besides ordering groceries, are the only day to relax or like do anything. And typically I'm just exhausted. Saturday nights too, after we close the bakery, I get there at about 6 a.m. and I get out of there about 3:30 at the latest. So then I have the evening to do, late afternoon, evening to go see friends and do stuff. And typically I'll go out and just get out of the house because I know if I lay down, I will fall asleep and then everything will be messed up. So I get to go do fun stuff. And then Sundays, yeah, I just totally pretend like I don't do any of this stuff and just like live a normal life and try to enjoy resting and spending time with people that I love. So I'd like to have more of a break at some point, but I don't know how that'll happen in the near future.
So, with that schedule, I would like to turn this to advice for maybe someone who's listening who would love to always dream of starting a bakery and they hear your story and your schedule and they're like, I'm in. I want to do this. What they're crazy enough to do it. what advice would you have for someone who wants to take that leap and start their own bakery or whatever stuff? What is information you wish you had going into it that you now know that you'd be happy to share?
Gosh, there's so much. When you create your menu and when you make recipes, know that if you put it on the menu and people like it, you have to keep making it because customers do enjoy consistency. Like I change up my flavors and things like that. But if I get rid of a major menu item for a week just because I don't have time to make it, or I thought, nah, nobody's going to miss it, they'll miss it. So make sure you know your menu when you start, and you can obviously alter it. But, if you think, because for me, some of my Rice Krispies, I made those offhandedly. Like I want to just fill the case. It's a recipe that I've always really liked. I'll make it, and then people really like them, which is great. I just now have to make them every week. So make sure you like making some of those things. And it requires a lot of clerical stuff, and management of your time. And you will have people constantly reaching out for orders or questions or billing or taxes or just things that I didn't anticipate completely. Like, in the back of your head, like, I'll have to do that stuff, but it's not real until it's real. So that's kind of, make sure you either have somebody who can do that for you, or what you're doing from the get-go, and start saving your receipts in organized places because taxes. And when I was looking into this way back when, I talked to a few different bakery owners because I wanted to get an idea of what it was like. And I traveled around to different small towns. Like that was one of my favorite things I would do when I did have free time for fun, is travel to different places and try foods and try different local businesses, or not local businesses, like small town businesses, to see what I liked and what I didn't like. And I asked a lot of questions. So ask a lot of questions and never think you know something, because you probably don't. Like, I asked this one business owner, and this was probably the most helpful piece of advice that she gave me. She said, I always wanted to start a bakery, and she had started a bakery, and it was a successful business in Lincoln. And she said that she opened up and bought all brand new equipment and dropped like $200,000 on this brand new equipment because she wanted to be equipped and well prepared to make bulk food and make the best product she could, but then didn't anticipate that you're not going to make that back in food sales. Like food sales, if you're not selling alcohol, like food is not going to really make you much, in the scheme of things. So if you're hoping to pay your bills, my suggestion is don't buy the brand new things. Because I took that advice and was like, okay, I'm not going to buy the nice high-end stuff. I'll buy the things I can get by with. Like from my old high school, I bought a massive dinosaur of a mixer that they were selling for really cheap. I needed it. And a new one was like $6,000 and I couldn't afford that. So this one was $2,000. It was like, great, I'll take it. So those sorts of things, if you can do it, do that. And then as you go, you can buy those new things that will help you out. But it's going to be more work front loaded, but less money probably, and less risk and less stress in that regard.
Well, and so many people, they feel like they have to have that nice thing to do it too. So just saying like pick up what you can and just get started is such a good thing just to get people moving.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of like renovating your house. Like if you expect your house project to be completely done right away, you're either going to drop a ton of money and have somebody else do it for you, or if you're doing it yourself, you're going to have to accept the fact that it's never going to be completely at that point in the time frame you want it to be. Do the things you need to get by, and then you can add on the extra decorations and extra things as you go. That saved me so much headache and money, honestly.
Yeah. That reminds me almost kind of like those HGTV shows where you see the renovation and everything happens in like 22 minutes and it seems so great. Maybe there's a little hiccup here for a little bit of stress and drama, but I guess what would be the Food Network equivalent of that, where you see this on TV and you're just like, oh man, they make it look so great. And you're like, if you only knew.
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. I have a huge respect for business owners in general after doing this, because you don't know, right? Like I was that asshole who walk into a business and be like, oh, this is good, but like you're paying for a product and you think, it's okay, or it's great, or it's not great, and you feel like you have the ability to have an opinion about it. It's so different now that I own a business, and it's like, oh my gosh, these people put their heart and soul into this. And when somebody comes in and is like, I don't like it, after you've been up all night baking or all night painting or whatever your business is, it's heartbreaking. So yeah, I don't know.
Very cool. So here we have it. It started with a passion for baking, an artistic ability, a small town with a supportive community, a patient boyfriend, and it's turned into something really amazing. And so we're nearing the end of our time, Lindsey, and I wish I could talk to you for even longer, because it's been a while since we caught up. But where can our listeners, where can people find you and learn more about PaperMoon Pastries?
Yeah, so our website is papermoonpastries.com, and it's pastries plural. Sometimes people spell it pastry and it won't get you where you want to go. On Facebook, I post our menu on Facebook every week. So our menu changes. We have the same items like cakes, cupcakes, kolaches, but the flavors change every week. So I post that weekly, and that's just PaperMoon Pastries. Our Instagram is PaperMoon Pastries. And then if you're interested in the process, TikTok is Miss Mid-Century, so completely not PaperMoon, because I didn't realize at the time what it was going to be. So yeah, you can check us out there.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Well,
sorry, Tanner,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, thank you so much for joining us, Lindsey. It's been so fascinating to hear the story, because again, you can see all I'm looking right now at all the amazing imagery and all the cupcakes, but you don't really get that story behind it, and you meet the person behind it. So it's great to hear that.
Yeah, well, thanks for taking the time to listen to my ramblings, and hopefully it made sense. But yeah, thanks for having me, because it's been a really cool experience. First podcast, so it's really neat.
The wife and I, we're going to pack up the kids and come down maybe next weekend.
Yes, you should. Oh,
she's excited.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, once again, Lindsey, thank you so much. Hopefully next year when you celebrate your 2-year anniversary, you can come back on and show us all the cool new stuff you did. That construction you're doing on the side of the building with the old buildings. I'm incredibly curious about this. This sounds so cool. I love that concept so much. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck. It's a pleasure talking to you again, and let's catch up again. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for everyone who's made it this far to listen. If you're still listening to this point, do us a favor. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. These past couple episodes have just skyrocketed. I think we had like 900% growth or something. We're still at a small number, but it's big for us. So really makes a big difference. So subscribe to us on YouTube, rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the place, and most importantly, just share with your friends so they can listen to Lindsey and get inspired and maybe start some of their own, or more importantly, go get some cinnamon rolls at her bakery. That'd be great. But again, thank you so much for listening. We will see you all next week. Bye.